me just pull my notes together here for a moment. And okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to my name is Tay Kratzer. I'm with Cimitra. There's a handful of us um, in fact, I'm just going to show you here, handful of folks that used to work at Novell actually, and Suse and so forth, who created this product. And I've already had a lot of traction in the Active Directory world with Cimitra, but we'd really like to get some traction with the eDirectory folks and with GroupWise and so forth. So let me go ahead and give you a brief slide deck, and then we're going to go ahead and tear into this and show you how Cimitra works and kind of its value proposition. Okay, so here's the idea behind Cimitra is it's the ability to allow other people to do things inside of, generally what's kind of very powerful and complicated systems, such as eDirectory, for example, or iManager is the tool that we're using to manage eDirectory, or think of GroupWise or Active Directory or firewalls or databases, whatever it is that you have a system that you want to be able to allow other people to participate without having all the rights and all the expertise in order to use those systems. And so we call it a zero rights administration tool. So it's the ability to make changes, but without any rights into that system. Okay. And so again, like I've said here, there's all kinds of use cases, and this is just a smattering of them here in this slide. And so here's the reason why Cimitra has resonated with organizations is really things get solved faster, and you don't have to have all the expertise that you might need. Let's say, for example, someone's doing things in the eDirectory. They really ought to be certified or really have some very good training and so forth, so that they use this very powerful tool safely and they don't cause any damage. Well, you don't have to if, you can still use that powerful system and then kind of layer on top Symmetra and then safely allow people to do just exactly what you want them to be able to do and nothing more vis-a-vis Symmetra. We have organizations that allow people to have the controls of iManager, but they really don't want to, but they allow it just because they have no other way to solve that problem. And so they give, kind of admin rights to people when they really shouldn't. And so now this, Symmetra effectively helps them with security. And then ultimately, all of this just saves money is what Symmetra does for organizations. Now, you do have to have an organization that's large enough that not just has like the one person that's managing everything, but generally you have like help desks and other people that are kind of tier two, tier one and tier two kinds of, IT generalists, and you can still have the specialists around, but they can then share these tasks vis-a-vis Symmetra to other people. So here's how you implement a Symmetra system is you install a Symmetra server. Just think of like a SUSE box. Okay, it's a Docker container on a SUSE box. And in this case, let's think about like if you've got a SUSE box that's got access to eDirectory, for example, you would put the Symmetra server maybe on that same box, for example, and deploy an agent to that same box, and put an agent in any other touch points in your organization that have systems that you want to be able to control with Symmetra. And then you go in finally and you create users, and then you create little actions inside of Symmetra for them to be able to do. And we're going to demonstrate that here in just a moment. So this is just kind of a roundup of what you do. You identify a use case. Let's take, for example, iManager, or it could be Active Directory, it could be GroupWise, and really just a whole host of other things, print servers, whatever. And so you identify your use case, you create a script. Guess what? Here at Cimitra, we've created a bunch of scripts. And so you just can connect those in, or the folks over at NETCB can help you to create scripts. They're very, very talented on how to, in a short order, they can help to create a solution very specific to your scenario, and then connect that to Cimitra. And so, and then just, it's effectively like a form that people, you'll see here in a moment. But anyway, so we've already got these pre-made practices, several other scripts that you can choose from. But these are examples of things that are common for customers to use. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you inside of Cimitra, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in as the eDir admin. Now, let's take you over to kind of a more traditional view of eDirectory, okay? So I'm going to go here into iManager, and I'm going to go into my little test system here, okay? And I've got users, and let's say that I want to create someone in administration. In fact, I'm going to just use Cobus Burgers, okay? And so let's say we've got this new employee, Cobus, and we want to create them in the administration context. I would typically do something like create user and kind of go through this dialogue, okay? But let's now say, hey, I want to do this through Cimitra, okay? Now, why am I doing this through Cimitra? Why am I going to go ahead and create a user here? Because I want to be able to put a layer between Cimitra and iManager, and I just want someone to be able to create users and not do all those other powerful things inside of iManager. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a user, C Burgers, okay, Cobus, and that's just my browser that's filling stuff in. It's trying to be a little too smart, but anyways, and so I'm going to say that he's in engineering, and he's an engineer, and we're going to go ahead and just give him some random number. Okay. And we're going to even add them to some groups inside of iManager. Okay. So there we go. All right. So I'm going to click on run, and now here's what happens is there's a Cimitra agent deployed sitting there on that same box that's running iManager. There we go. And that agent calls home every 5 seconds, says anything for me to do. And in this case, we said, yeah, run this bash shell script, okay, because it's on Linux, and go ahead and create this object. And really behind the scenes, it's just bash, that's a bash script that's calling LDAP commands, and then it's creating a user. So there we go, bada bing. We just created this user inside of eDirectory. And in fact, just you can see this full circle, okay? I'm going to click on administration here, and there's Cobus, the person that we just created, okay? And he's going to have all the group memberships and so forth that we added him to, and there we go, okay? Now, now we can go in here then, and now that this has been done, we can share this. Now this is a action that we imported in from Cimitra. It's really easy to go ahead and import actions. But anyways, I can then take these actions that I've got here, and I can share them with someone else. Okay, so I'm the eDirectory admin, and I've created this user eDir, and I've shared with them the ability to here we go. I've just gone in and shared with this eDir person and this LDAP person and so forth. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you their experience. First off, I'm going to show you my experience. I can actually take you behind the scenes, and you see here, this is just kind of think of like we created a form in Google in a sense, okay? But it's obviously more complicated here. But we've just said, hey, there's an agent over here, and we've got this bash is the command or the interpreter for this bash shell script, and here's all these switches, and here's the fields behind this form, okay? And these fields really just map out to values specific to that bash shell script. And we've said, hey, here's the actions that you can take. And we have these free form fields. Now, what's really nice is we've got um, these kind of guardrails here with validating regex, and you're like, I've heard of regex, I don't know how to do it. Don't worry, you click on help, and we've got a help screen that helps you to understand what you would fill in here. We pre-fill in information, we kind of make a guess at it as to what you would want, but you could modify what's in there in that validating regex. And so anyways, you can see it's just these free form fields, and that's really what an action is. And then these actions are shared with others. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log in as this user. Okay. Um, and anybody can log in as these non-admin users out from our website, and this demonstration system is accessible to any one of you. But anyway, so I'm going to log in there, password 123 eder@cimitra.com 123, and I click here, and you see I've got this modify user functionality. But I can't take you behind the scenes. I'm just like, just a user at this point. Think of someone like on the help desk, or a person who's in IT, competent, but maybe manages a website and the firewall and some databases, but they're not the iManager, kind of the Novell technology administrator. And so this is another individual who has this ability to go in and to run this same feature that I showed you here. I could go in here and make Cobus just as well if Cobus didn't exist. It's exactly the same form. So suddenly now a person who has absolutely no rights into iManager, so zero rights administration, okay, is able to create a user simply by virtue of the fact that this action's been shared with them inside of Cimitra. Okay, so that's the value proposition, is other people can perform these powerful actions if in fact those have been shared with them. Okay, so and I want to show you too that I'm going to go ahead and create an action just to show you how simple this is. Now, again, this is part of the reason we partner with NETCB. Obviously, there's a bit of a learning curve on how to do some of these things. We've got fabulous documentation, but and so the folks at NETCB, when you go in, you go, hey, I want to do this and that. The folks at NETCB can help you to create solutions specific to your organization. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and log in as this Eder admin person again. And I'm going to show you just how easy it is to create an action, okay, and then share it with others. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, let's go ahead and create an action, okay, and this is going to be called test 2 because I already have one called test. And I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, there's a Linux agent out there, okay, sitting on a box, and let's just say we're going to do something very simple. We're going to do ls/tmp. For those of you that may not be familiar with the Linux world, that's just like a dir, the temp directory. Okay, and so bada bing, I created test 2, and I'm going to click on run, and that agent calls home every 5 seconds. Anything for me to do? Yep, ls/tmp, and there we go. The output is the contents of that temp directory. Okay, so and just to kind of acquaint you here for a second, I'm going to take you across the top, and I'm going to show you agents. Remember, we talked about that we just spoke to an agent. This agent we deployed over there to a Linux box, and it calls home every 5 seconds to this DNS address right here and says, anything for me to do? And we said, yeah, ls/tmp, and give us the output so I can show it to the end user. And in fact, I can even go ahead and audit for that. So I'm going to look for test two. There we go. And I can see that either admin ran this command when they ran it, and what the outcome was. So kind of cool. You can actually, audit any actions that go on. And so I'm going to make this a little bit less specific. In fact, I'm just going to look for everything that's gone on. Okay. And so here it takes just a moment. Okay. So you can see that either admin, okay, function that I did before. And this was the create user, right? And that was Cobus. And so it's, very, very simple to audit, because here you are as an admin, and you're allowing other people to have these little keys, okay? And you want to know who's kind of turning the locks and so forth, and what they're doing. And so auditing is very, very simple. Now I'm going to come back over here to users, okay? You've seen a little bit about users when I shared an action, but here's all the users. And so creating a user is very, very simple. You just put in the information, you indicate whether or not they're an admin or an auditor, or maybe they're none of those. And so so take, for example, Adele. Okay, she's not an administrator, she's not an auditor, she's just kind of like that either user, and she's able to go in and perform certain actions. In fact, just to kind of swing over to Adele for a second, what I want to do is I want to log into Adele's account, and password 123. Again, this is open to the world. Anybody can get to this site, and guess what? We don't care. You can't do any harm. You can't delete users. We're not giving you access to Active Directory or iManager or anything like that. You have this very sterile access to these very powerful systems. And so here I've got very much the same functionality from similar to eDirectory, that I can go ahead and create a user, or I can modify a user. So for example, I'm going to click on run here, and I've got an administration context inside of an Active Directory tree. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and click on run. And what I want to do is show you the process of, going into a context, clicking on a user, and then making modifications to that user. So if you kind of think of the regular flow, you click on a user, you see their attributes, and then you go ahead and you make changes. So I'm going to simulate that here. Now you might go, well, this isn't as nifty as Active Directory or eDirectory administration. It's not meant to be, because really the people that you're giving access this to, they're not familiar with those tools, not generally. And so you're not trying to completely, mimic that environment. You're just trying to give them the ability to do the simple things that you want them to be able to do, rather than that huge power tool. Okay. And so so they can certainly go here and they can say, hey, I want to take this user B wit, and I want to basically, what I'm doing here is I'm double clicking on Bill Witt. Okay. And so yeah, it takes a moment, because, there we go. And so I go, oh, okay, there's Bill Witt. Oh, I need to fill in Bill Witt's mobile phone number. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to modify this user, and I'm going to go ahead and put in their mobile phone number. Okay. 1212, and click on run. Okay. And bada bing, this is going to make a change inside of Active Directory. Okay, so in this case, it's a PowerShell script, not Bash. And there we go. We just modified Bill Witt, and now Bill has a mobile phone number along with their office number. Okay, so kind of cool stuff. All right. Now, we've talked about directories, Active Directory, eDirectory, and so forth, but I want to show you a little broader application. Okay. This came from a real world environment. This was a university. Okay. They had a print server that managed 50 printers around the campus and so forth. And before Cimitra, what had happened is things get jammed in a queue, or, a queue needs to be restarted and so forth. And so they only had really one individual that was managing that print server. And imagine if she wasn't at her desk or wasn't available, you'd have a printer that would be down potentially for hours, right? And so she wanted to spread that amongst, several competent people that they had in their organization, but she didn't want to give them access to the Windows box, the Windows server that had the print server, dialogues and so forth there. So in one day's time, we go ahead and made a print server practice for them. And so this is really just the manifestation of that. And so we're going to go ahead and we're now going to query vis-a-vis PowerShell and some very powerful APIs that Microsoft has. And we're just querying this print server for, hey, what's up? What's inside of your queues and so forth. And then we can go ahead and take actions vis-a-vis this print server practice. So it takes a moment here. Okay, so here we go. So you imagine the marketing printer. Okay, someone called and they said, yeah, you know what? Look at that. The marketing printer has a job in the queue. Can we go ahead and clear that? Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to go ahead and remove all queued jobs for a printer. And here's the marketing printer. Okay. And I'm going to click on run. All right. So here we go. Adele taking very powerful action on a printer without any access to, there we go. We cleared that print queue and now there's no longer a print job for that marketing printer. Okay, so Adele, with no expertise, no rights, and so forth, is able to fix that print server. Here's another example. Okay, different outfit, a medical firm. Okay, they have a fax server. I know that sounds funny, but here in the U.S., I don't know if they do this in other places. They actually still use fax technology in the medical field. Okay, and so so kind of weird, but they still have to use these fax servers. And guess what? Very often they just needed to clear a fax server queue. Well, they have a mechanism very similar to this for clearing a fax printer's queue. And it's someone that's not even IT. It's the office manager and a secretary. They're able to go in and they're able to clear this queue and do other things inside of their organization with absolutely no IT expertise. But the net result is that the IT person doesn't have to come on site. In this case, it's an MSP, doesn't have to come on site to do some of these common things that go on in the clinic that are, would be vexing otherwise and take a long time to resolve. Okay. Okay. So now we've shown you Active Directory, eDirectory, and a print server. I'm going to come back around. There might be some of you that maybe use GroupWise, and so I'm going to go ahead and log in as a GW admin user and just show you here GroupWise commands. Okay, let's say I want someone else, and this again came from a totally different customer. This is a customer out in Ohio, and they had a scenario where they had a competent person that knew how to use Linux, and so for another person that was kind of managing the Windows side of the shop. Okay, and the problem was that the person that was managing Linux, she could never leave without her laptop. She couldn't go on vacation, anything like that, without her laptop because the person that managed the Windows side of the shop didn't have any knowledge, access, and so forth to the Linux box that managed various different, very powerful systems, GroupWise, iFolder, and so forth, eDirectory, that they would use on the kind of Novell side of the shop on Linux. And so she wanted this ability to be able to share these common functions with this other person that's very competent, but just isn't familiar with their side of the world. And so so she did something like this. so this is in the Linux world, this is a way to restart a group-wise POA. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show this to you here. And so I can go ahead and I can run this. It's kind of cool. We made a little prompt dialog. You can actually do that. And so if this other user logs in and they go to click on run, that's like, hey, you know what? Do you really want to do that? And we can say, yeah, go ahead and run that. And so it's going ahead and it's issuing that command to basically stop and start a service on Linux. Okay, that's kind of the Windows equivalent to this. And so that's what we're doing, is we're just stopping and starting a service. And bada bing, similar to Windows, very often that's the way to resolve things. You just kind of stop it and start it, and then everything's magic. So that is that tool. And then of course this has been shared with another person, right? And so, and it's really easy. I can share this with Alan the auditor too, and then go back and just show you here that it's oh, sorry, we're going to go back here and we're going to click on that, and you're going to see that we just shared it with, well, okay, I was hoping to see a slightly different dialogue, but anyways, so you can see we've shared it with multiple people. Okay, so that is Cimitra in a nutshell. I'm going to show you one other thing that's kind of cool, and that is that you can go in and you can take an action inside of Cimitra, and as long as it doesn't require some kind of input, for example, so take this group by system status, which is really just a, let's look here, RCGRPY status, okay, and we've actually put this on a time clock, okay, and so this action is scheduled to happen every day. Okay, so see that, like 5 minutes after the hour. And so this is just using a cron schedule, and so kind of cool. You can see that right here. You see that, and so I can go in here and I'm just going to click on audit here, and you're going to see. Okay, I'm going to do status here. Let's try that, and just to kind of narrow this down a bit. Okay, here we go. So you can see here, group by system status runs every day, right? And then I can go in and see what the status was on that given day. So kind of cool. So we've got actions. We showed you how to audit, schedule, users, and agents. So I've kind of given you the full gamut on Cimitra. I'm going to go ahead, and I know that was, this is kind of a short session, and so I'm just trying to kind of give you a brief exposure. Really, the folks you want to tap into is NETCB, and we can demonstrate this for you and help set it up in your organization. Love to hear from you folks, and get some more interest there out in the African region and European region that NETCB services. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Justin, do you have any other any comments or questions from folks in the audience? I'm going to wait
Hi,
here.
Tay. No, there's no questions at the moment,
Okay.
but I'm quite sure that we'll get some information in the feedback forms, and we'll also obviously follow up
Okay,
accordingly.
fantastic. Okay, well, I think our time's just about up. So, Justin, you've seen Cimitra before. Is there any other thing that kind of strikes you that I need to say or that you would point out?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Excuse me.
yeah. And so it really is. I mean, that's one of the major points about Cimitra is it's certainly, as an admin, there's a learning curve, right? But NetCBs can help you on that. But as an end user, it's just so simple to use. And I like what one of our customers says. It's really kind of like you're giving people a Google form, but instead of the information just getting filled in and going into a spreadsheet or a database, the information is actually being acted upon at that moment. So I kind of like that analogy that they gave me. It's like a Google form that can take actions. So, okay, well, I think I've shared enough. Let's go ahead and we'll just do a wrap on that. So, thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Tay. Very much appreciated, and also for joining us so early. I know it's very early in the morning on your side,
Yeah,
and we'll be in touch.
sounds good.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Okay, bye.